London is one of the richest cities in the world, but the further you head south, the bigger the wealth gap appears. Areas steeped in history for all the wrong reasons. Gang violence, gun crime, and nationwide riots. Places that gave birth to the rise of London drill culture, and some of the most notorious incidents involving its most famous practitioners. Is London burning, or is it just broken? I'm Hawaii 5-0, and this is Scheme Hoppin. Welcome to London. And we have arrived in Brixton. It's definitely got a lot of culture in it with it. Check it out. I'm just seeing colours left, right and centre. Would you have a across and check out this mural? That is a lot of funk right there. Look at that, divers. I wish I knew these people in the shutters, man. I'm loving that, I'm digging that. It's kind of get the vibe of the bars, see with the wee independent shops and that. What's that, Brixton Village? Oh, opening soon. What's in here? This little wee market. To be honest, I could go a spot of lunch. There you got some of your fruit and veg right there. Blackbird burger. This is pretty funky in here. This is very like the bars. Everywhere seems to be shut. There doesn't seem to be much open. A bit of a contrast back up about 20 minutes away. Everywhere's absolutely mobbed. Bigger pizza. Kind of beat a bigger pizza, can you? Okay, I can see some laugh. Electric Avenue. Is that not a song? Oh, don't see electric, take you higher. Yeah, okay, there's a bit of life down here, man. Got a bit of vibrancy. Mum with a purple jacket couldn't get out of my road there. Oh, a big mural as well. I wonder who it used to be. It's faded their time. Some delightful strands, some refreshings. And then a random Sports Direct in Under Armour. Oh, I say Sports Direct. Did not expect to see that here. Setting up shop right outside. Your sports socks here, sports socks. £2 for £1. Ah, £2 for £1. What is this? This is like containers. This is like they've kind of made, I don't know, is it office blocks or something out of containers? That is madness, I think. I don't know if that's just these are offices. Something anyway. I mean, I'm loving the idea of it. It's got a mad look. I wonder what the inside of them looks like. I wonder if I can get into it. Cameraed up and everything. It's clearly in use. The zoo. It's literally got the zoo written on it. I feel like I'm in a shipping yard. Brixton Village. It's just a different entrance. Got all sorts in here. I love the smell of fresh fish nut. I've got some clobber. Some burritos. Big wee scran joint. Some Brixton streetwear. There's a lot in this place, man. It's some size. Places like Brixton, right, they've got this kind of heavy reputation, but seen in the modern day, a lot of it has been gentrified, although when you compare it to your central London and that, of course you can see there is a clear difference in terms of like local economy. There's a lot more independent traders down here, but I think they're able to kind of survive down here a lot more. Listen, if you've got a business in central London, you need to be making the coinage to sustain it. But the thing is, like most of the kind of boroughs, there's such in London, Brixton is steeped in history. I want to get back to the market. Where am I? Lost. It's a bit of a maze, this market, man. See, there's so many ways in and out. That place is just called Uncle's. Fair dues, man. Some funky club up there. You see, I'd love to buy it as a laugh, but I don't think if I was kicking about like that, they would take it as much as a joke. So when I'm talking about Brixton's history, Electric Avenue, in 1999, somebody sent in a nail bomb and it went off and it injured about 48 people. And they later traced it back to a guy called David Copeland. David Copeland was a member of the BNP. His intentions were to start a race war and they'd let off 3 separate bombs throughout London. And of course, with Brixton having a large black community, his target was today devastation and destruction. And although nobody was killed, but people did get seriously injured. They managed to trace it back to him. He's still in jail now. I think he got 50 years in jail. Apparently it was after watching a film called The Turner Diaries. It referenced that where basically a guy starts a race war and he was trying to do the same thing here. But you think look how tight and condensed it is. There's a lot of people kicking about. So you think back in the 90s when people were a lot more available in the public, such a wee small condensed space, so something like that can have devastating effects like it just did. And a Greggs. You're never too far for a Greggs, are you? Brilliant. Oh, what you heard about me? Tunes, man. Oh, I got a big waft of weed there. I like this kind of, these dress garments are quite popular, it seems. Hello. Thank you very much. God. I think we need a bit of God in our lives, man. Where are we here? It seems to be on the main road down this diagram. This place is jumping, man. See, it just shows you how busy London is. Like, no matter where you go, everywhere is just absolutely thronged. So see, when I was talking about that nail bomb attack, it happened outside the Iceland. So you look how busy this street is here. Then you look as you go into the market. I think he'd left it in like a blue bag. He just left it. And I think it was a mixture of fireworks and nails. I remember, I don't know how accurate the information is because we're going back nearly 20 years ago, but apparently like a toddler ended up with a nail in its head. So it was pretty horrific, man. And it shows you times have never really changed for that kind of thing, especially in England, of course. Nobody's really letting have nail bombs these days, but I mean, it's still pretty racist. Got all this kind of far right stuff, especially these days. It's a lot more popularised in media, social media especially. What have we got down this style? Let's go investigate. I don't know what you heard about me. And the bitch can't get a dollar out of me. I gotta let no perps you can't see. Cause I'm a money in the IMP. You can see the roughness down here, man. That's it up there. Stay in peace. Lovely. And your bikes. A lot of colour on these boys, man. You see, when you come into these streets though, like, the houses don't even look that bad, they look pretty nice. This is smack bang in the middle of Brixton, but the gaps are actually half decent looking for the outside. But of course, you're going to get your nice bits and your bits that are not so nice. Atlantic Road, right, and there's a wee bit of history to this place. So what happened in this road was kind of a precursor. It would later become known as the Brixton riots. It was kind of following the aftermath. It was Operation Sus, they were calling it, because there was a lot of reports of like muggings and thefts in the area. The police were deploying a lot of stop and search tactics, but they were targeting mainly black men. Of course, the residents, this being a predominantly black area, they were getting pretty fed up with it, which is understandable. They'd stopped a guy called Michael Bailey, who was a young guy and he was running down the road. They stopped him and he had a 4-inch stab wound in his back. And he's managed to break away from him and get into a house, and they've started trying to give him medical treatment. But they weren't prioritising his medical treatment, apparently. Apparently they were more prioritising putting him under arrest. Eventually they stuck him in a taxi and sent him to the hospital. He did survive, but of course the people in the area didn't feel as if the police were too interested in his personal welfare. So that's what initially kicked off the riots that would happen in Brixton. And it all started here. What eventually happened is what they call Bloody Saturday, and it kicked off with basically people looting the shops on Brixton Road and surrounding areas. You can see there's a lot going on here. This seems to get it with the main stretch of road for the area. You see, they've done quite a lot to change the aesthetic of the place, because I'll be honest with you, as much as it's got its obviously its roots in the community, it seems to me quite hipsterish. Although you do have a mixture. You've got kind of people out and about their daily shopping, and then you've got people kind of begging for money in the street. So I don't know what it is. It's a scheme. Kind of reminds me of Govan. It's got that character. There's the train station there. You've got some people outside. Guy didn't seem to be in a good spot, did he? But these wee things. JD's get security guards. I don't know if that's a common thing. I don't often shop in JD. Does it surprise you? I could go a scran, you know that? I don't know where to go. Oh, there's a cinema. Where have we go? Rebuilding starring Josh O'Connor. Never heard of him and never heard of it. Fair play, but it seemed to be, it was during the 1980s that this place really got its reputation. Because when you look into it, that's when the Yardie gangs really operated heavily. I think there was about 200 different gangs. That was during the era when the crack really started to flood into the kind of mainstream drug supply. And that's where a lot of these kind of gangs profited. And of course, when you look at the likes of LA and even happening in Glasgow now, when crack starts to enter the drug ecosystem, that's when chaos soon follows it. It was quite a pivotal moment for a lot of places in the 1980s, because you look at it, was it the Thatcher government that was in play. Of course, like kind of working class areas, they were massively underfunded, underdeveloped and essentially neglected by the government. And that kind of transcends up the top of the road where I'm from in Glasgow to down here. Same issues, of course. When you're looking at a kind of neighbourhood like this, it's not just poverty that's the sole issue. Of course, you've got the racial conflicts as well, which is massively playing into it. So you're essentially, you've got two monsters you're trying to battle. It essentially creates a ticking time bomb that's eventually going to go off. And off it did. In the 1980s, of course, the mistreatment, what I call it, of Michael Bailey wasn't the only stimulus for a riot back then. And we're back at the market. I can't get enough of that place, you know that? This is the way we came down. I'm going to go with this style, Rushcroft Road, let's see what's going on up there. Might try and find a wee local coffee shop, see if I can just go and pick somebody's brains. Old scaffolding. Tell you something I like about London, it's April and that, so the weather's consistent. You get consistent sunshine, it's no sunshine with rain, with snow, with whatever else. I'm definitely digging that, that's a win. That is a plus. But see, look at these gaffs, right? I feel like I've just walked into a different bit of London. I've literally turned a corner and look, I feel like I'm back in central London. Like Mayfield House, even the names are expensive. There's one to let. Yeah, I'm going to find out much a house to rent in here. You've seen Brixton, right? You've seen where we've just came from. And there's a house to let, right? I'm going to find out how much it is for a gaff in here. What's the address? Granville House. Right, I've just found this house, right? So you've seen where it is. The aesthetic looks nice on the outside, but you've seen what we just came for. Look at that. Can you see it? 692 quid a week. Let's see if we get photos. So is it a 3-bedroom? Fair dues. I've got a 2-bedroom and I pay less than that a month. Let's see the floor plan. You've got a bedroom, kitchen, reception room. So is that the living room? You've got a living room and a kitchen in the wanner. You've got your toilet. I mean, probably a nice enough gaff, but come on, nearly 700 quid a week. That's just no shy of £3 a month. 36 grand there a year if you're just tallying it up roughly. That's a wage. That's a good wage, you know. Just to stay here. No offence, but I'd rather have the money. That's the thing about the likes of London, because you come down here, of course, there's a lot of opportunity depending what field you're in. Like I like to act. There's a lot of acting opportunities as well, but the cost of houses, nobody can afford to stay in central London. I was looking at a gaff, it was like 28 grand a month. Like, who's even got that money? Like, just to stay in London? It seems a nightmare to drive about. You're cycling everywhere, which I like a good cycle. A lot of people commute into London, for like north, south, east, west, whatever. But in South London, you've just seen that's the price of a house. Don't get me wrong, they're alright looking gaffs, but I mean, come on. £3 a month. You can ram it. No danger, look at that here. Yeah, you've got it right there. No bother you, you bovril. This wee local park. Well, it's a nice wee park. Seems to be well kept as well. There's no rubbish everywhere. I don't know how often the council come in and tidy it up. Been pretty chill. See that bit over there? You can kind of see them. There's a group of people, see, sitting on the benches getting mad with it. Didn't want to point this at them in case it roused any animosity. Yeah, it's like the Elder Park Pond. Although I wouldn't want to take a nosedive into that thing. Go end up in A&E. That electric Brixton. I wonder what that is in there. Oh, it's a church, I think. Yeah, I think place a palace. There's something to see in Rome. St Matthew's Church, Brixton. As we move away from the city centre, I say the city centre, it's got that to the main street. We're still on Brixton Road, as far as I believe. But as you can see, it's quieting right down. That might be part. There's a lot of greenery down here, see, for like being South London. It is kind of surprising. I don't know if that's the pure outsider in me that shouldn't be surprised. But I know, I didn't expect there to be so many wee parts to walk through. Especially it's a nice wee day. Good day, I know. We're just starting to get the leaves in the trees. You cannot beat that. You could not beat that with a tennis racket, man. There was some flats down here. Kind of reminds me of Edinburgh a bit, like near house. St Matthew's Estate Tenants Hall. Oh, that's like a wee social club. Smack bang in the middle of the scheme. Wonder what this wee bit's called then. I feel like I'm in Springburn. St Matthew's Estate, that should have been a given. This has got old Gorbals written all over it. It's actually a really nice day. People are wrapped up like it's January in Scotland. This is summer to me, baby. Crownston Court. Great Britain doing a flitting. A few more new builds here. So whatever used to be here has been bulldozed and rebuilt. Seeing they look a wee bit older on that side. That's what I'm talking about, the gentrification. Because this is what they do with these kind of areas. Like I said, the date, I compared it to the Gorbals. Clearly heavy reputation, run down, way past its time in terms of tenements. As such to design it, and you walk into it now, it's a completely different scheme. People have got boat houses, it's seen as probably more affluent, borderline affluent, because you go to its locality, the city centre. And of course with London, being London, you'll have a lot of people staying out here. They commute into London. They often wouldn't have stayed here in the 80s as such. It seems like they're kind of trying to redevelop the place and re-identify it and give it a certain glamour. Because as you see, you're walking about, it seems quite hipstery, it seems quite swanky. There are parts of it that's looks a bit rough as we just walk through it there. I guarantee you the houses we just walk by, they'll be an absolute fortune just because of where they are. There'll be money coming out of this place, trust me. You've got a hoot nanny, here we go. Not a Scotland flag in sight. We own that name, trademark. Best kebab, traditional fish bar. They two words do not go in the same sentence. Nah, I'm not having that. What a 10-minute walk for basically Brixton Road. I'm in Brailsford Road, and the reason why I'm here, there was an incident in 1985 where the police were looking for a guy, I think his name was Michael Groce or Gross. He was 21, they were looking for him for, I think it was a robbery, and they raided his ma's house. His ma's house was on this street. His ma was 36, and during the raid, his ma got shot and she got paralysed for the waist down. They never actually got him in the end up anyway. This sparked a big protest outside the police station, which fueled more and more riots. Basically, they kicked up a storm. They were sick of the heightened racial tension. They were sick of getting targeted by the police. And there was a ma 6, she was 36. I think Michael Gross was like 21, paralysed for the waist down for the rest of her life, just because her house got raided. And as you look at this now, this is hardly the scheme. It's actually quite a nice spot. It just shows you the police were bastards back then. People look at the riots and they look at an area and they think it's in disarray, they think it's in disorder, but you think, right, what's contributing to that? You can't sit and blame the people. You can only poke a bear so much until you get a reaction at it. But I'm going to head out to the police station now because there is a bit of history stemming from outside this police station because it is referenced a few times in the ongoing riots. The smell for this Mayas is luring me in, so I'm going in to test the waters. I mean, check out that bad boy, man. That's a gentrified roll if I've ever seen one. That is lovely. That's a nice bit of pastry. You get like black pepper seeds on it. But then the dough's got a kind of sweet flavour to it, man. There's a bit of sweet and savoury, and I like a bit of sweet and savoury. You get some ham, you get some pickle, some kind of lettuce. That's a goodies, man. I rate that. Get a wee private bit. Weird how close this is to the main road. Is this just hoosies? Oh, this might be supported accommodation. As you look at it, it's not exactly mad fancy, but there you've got the main road right there. No, mate, I'm just out a walk. I was just looking to see what it was.
Yeah, I can open it for you.
It's okay, I'm not going in there anyway. What is it? Is that supported accommodation or is it just houses?
It's just flat. Yeah, flats kind of.
Flats, okay. Do you stay in there?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Do you live yourself?
Yes.
Right, fair play, mate, fair play. No, I'm from Scotland. I'm just doing a kind of walking vlog around Brixton.
I see.
Just catching the local history and that.
I see.
Are you from here originally?
Like country-wise?
No, sorry, like, have you grown up in Brixton?
No, I used to live in Streatham.
Right, okay. What inspired the move from Streatham to? Parents, okay. You see in a lot of the media it talks about there's a lot of problems with like gang culture as such in places like Brixton. Is that still quite active or is it true?
Obviously before it was heavily gang affiliated, I believe so. But now, as you can see, I don't really see it as much. Probably because I just go to work. So I probably don't see it as much.
Yeah.
Probably during night time you might see it. But I'm not really outside of night time, so I personally don't
No,
see it.
fair play.
How about you? Have you seen it?
Well, I've only been here about an hour, but it seems as it's during the day, it's broad daylight, so I haven't really seen anything as such. I've done a bit of research, and of course Brixton's infamous for like the Brixton riots as such. But what I read up on was a lot of these the riots, the precursor to them was a lot of racial tension between them and the police. Have you noticed, has that been an issue for you growing up in this, or living in this area as such?
I personally haven't.
Okay.
I personally haven't noticed. Probably because of the environment I was in. I personally haven't seen any problems.
Right,
such as
okay.
violence and stuff. Obviously, I've seen some aftermaths where, there might have been a shooting or something. Yeah, that's what I've seen.
Right, okay. Are these things quite common down here, like shootings as such?
No. I personally don't think it's that common.
Right.
It's once in a blue moon.
Right, okay.
You never know what could happen.
Definitely.
When you get comfortable here, it could happen. So you never know.
100%, man, 100%, mate.
Have you been to Somerleyton Estate in Brixton?
Somerleyton, no.
You should go to Somerleyton Estate.
Is that far from here?
Literally 5-minute walk.
Right, okay.
Probably even, yeah,
I'll maybe
5
check that out next.
Yeah, definitely check it.
The Somerleyton Estate was built in the 1970s as part of London's post-war social housing expansion, right in the heart of Brixton. Over the years, the area became heavily associated with gang culture, drug dealing and violent crime. But not just historically. Situated in the shadow of the estate is Cold Harbour Lane, which saw a drive-by shooting incident that hospitalised 4 people just weeks after I filmed this vlog. So the estate we're heading to, it's a set of apartments. And it was built post-World War II to house a lot of Afro-Caribbean communities that came here. Like Brixton was generally built for the Windrush generation, so that was a lot of people that were brought from the Caribbean as such to London to help rebuild it after the war, and that's why you've got quite a massive Afro-Caribbean community in Brixton and surrounding areas. They love their street art and I can't fault them. That is quality. See, this is what I love about the kind of the design of this place. It's got that kind of roughness to it, but it's also got what character. I like to see these designs. I wonder who that is. Bookstop. So I think that's that guy who was just up there in the mural. Keep wrapping books. There's one book there, what is it? Coach Yourself Slim. I'll leave that for somebody else. And Healthy Meals. Bit of Bowie. You can be heroes just for one day. Bob Marley way, no danger. Do you want to know a fun fact about Bob Marley? His dad was actually British. His dad, I'm sure, was a naval officer. He was like an army officer in Jamaica, and he got Bob Marley's mum pregnant and then vamoosed. Quite an interesting bit of trivia right there. Today a reader, tomorrow a leader. Never a truer word spoken. Bookstop Brixton. Needs must when the devil skies, eh? I think we have done a full 360 because I pulled up my bike just there, and I think this is the Somerleyton Estate here. I think we can get into it. Yep, this looks to be it. Your benches, bit of daffy. Yep, we have arrived. Look at here, wee hussies. Oh, it's like a garage. I think that used to be a garage, that one is blocked off. German kindergarten? Is that what I think it is? Willkommen. That is so random. Bilingual German and English nursery. Have they got a lot of Germans that stay here? They must do, because that would be the most random thing ever. I've done a bit of research in this place, of course. As you say, a lot of Afro-Caribbean families get moved in here post-World War II. And then with the poverty problem, been such a massive factor in Brixton, of course, drugs starts to flock in. And this place became like the hotspot of like crack dealing, heroin dealing, whatever was gone dealing. And basically the drug gangs that operated down here, they were selling drugs for the concierge. And apparently there was like people coming from all air London to buy their drugs for here. There was multiple crack dens set up in the houses, and eventually the police came and shut it down. I think this was back in 2008. This place would have been piping. So apparently this place back in the day, when it was in its full operation, was a hotbed of robberies day. And it was one gang that predominantly was active in this area. They were called the Murder Zone Gang. And I think they were responsible for, guess what, a couple of murders in the area, and it was them that pretty much established the drug trade. Police estimated the operation to have lasted around 6 months, but they had 150 people from all over London coming to get drugs for this spot. On the outside of it, the facade of it is a bit of a dump, but you think of the money that would have been coming in and out of here, especially if they've got the place locked down and they're operating for this concierge. Where's the concierge doing? I mean, you look in the outside of it too. Somebody must either passed away here or stayed here. You look at it on the outside here. What a different area. This looks sharp and shiny. And that looks drab and shady. We're going to find out how much it is to actually stay here. See, because the houses down here are a mix of social housing and council housing, it's very, very hard to get house prices right, but I grokked it. And I'll tell you what Grok said here. And listen, this is just a comparison to the local housing in the area. Listings directly in Somerleyton Road are relatively mixed at any one time due to the mix of council, social housing, private stock, with ongoing regeneration including phase 2 delivering new homes starting construction 26-27. Recent or indicative private rentals include 2-bedroom flats, around £2,250 per calendar month. One example listed near Brixton Station Road, Somerleyton area. So that's just a 2-bedroom and it's in this kind of vicinity, and of course you look at that and you look at these houses and you can go, aye, there must be a difference, but is it going to be 500 quid to stay on one side of the road and 2 grand to stay on the other side of the road? I don't think so. There'll be a couple of hundred quid's worth of difference, and you think, staying in there, you need to pay me 2 grand a month to stay in this place. You know what I mean? Rough. There's another mural. There's a lot of murals down here. Good if they stuck a name on it so you can know who they're talking about. There's obviously an outsider like myself who's clueless. But I wonder if that's a reference to the riots, because look, see, you get posts behind the shields and people on this ave. And I think that's the police station right there. The multiple police vans being a dead giveaway, and the sign that says police on the ground. Maybe, just maybe. Check it out for sale. £1 million, 1-bedroom studio flat. And you can see the station's just pretty much based just at Brixton Road. So as I mentioned earlier on, when there was the raid on the house where the young mother was shot and paralysed, there was a peaceful protest done outside this police station as a result of that, and quite quickly it turned into a riot, and that's what prompted the 1985 Brixton riots. But there was also another occasion that happened specifically inside this police station. There was a guy taken into custody, his name was Wayne Douglas, and he died whilst in custody. And there was an attempted cover up at his death, but what in actual fact happened was he had been restrained face down and pinned to the ground and suffocated as a result of getting restrained by the police. And that sparked the 1995 riots in Brixton. So if you combine that with the police stop and search tactics, the racial tension that happened in this place as a result of police brutality, we've got a lot of blood in their hands. This station is such, and listen, the officers that work in that station might not be the ones that were involved in these riots, that were going back like 40 years, so it's very, very unlikely so. But it just shows you a combination of police over-aggression and racial discrimination, what it can cause, because people look at these riots and they'll view Brixton through the lens of, what are these people doing wrong? Why are these people rioting? And it's like, it's not until you come into the area and you see it as very multicultural now, but back in those days it was predominantly black, Afro-Caribbean mostly. So they did suffer a lot of racism, and the police being the number one purveyors of that. It's like bringing a match to petrol. But you look at it now, £3 for a studio flat. So obviously the kind of standout question was, this guy died in custody, so did anybody get brought to justice for it? And they did have an inquiry on that, and the police claimed that he died of heart failure. I think that was his actual recorded cause of death, and he apparently did have heart problems, and he had been restrained 4 times, they claim, during this night. So they returned a verdict of accidental death. But I mean, if you return that to the people, I think there probably would have been a lot of people felt that justice wasn't done as such, but you're essentially relying on a system to investigate and persecute itself. It's never going to happen, is it? And I think I'm going to get a wee coffee in here. Can I order a single espresso?
Single espresso?
Yes, please.
Spanish, Italian?
Me, Scottish.
Scottish?
Very Scottish.
It's similar to Italian?
Similar to Italian. My great-grandfather was Italian. He came from Sorrento. See, I could have went a matcha. I like the taste of a matcha, especially with it being on the rage, but every time I drink one, I feel like I'm going to shake myself. That's like a 10 grand machine. In London prices, that's 3 months rent. And that is a good espresso. No sunshine when she's gone. No sunshine when she's gone. And she's always gone away. Anytime she goes away. No two right there. Is it shut? Have they closed it down? Excuse me, is this closed down?
No, I think it's just closing today.
Oh right, okay, it was just with the fences.
Yeah, there's a concert here tomorrow.
Right, okay, is this how they close it up?
Probably, yeah.
Right, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's alright.
I wonder if it's to stop people trying to break in, but break in and do what? Sit on the stage? What a weird way to close somewhere up. That looks shut down. There you go, Cat Burns 19th of April, sold out. Sold out, she looks as if she's locked it. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone away. Anytime she goes away. That's a good coffee. Right, say hello to the camera, this is Danny Williams.
Hi, my name is Danny Williams. I've lived in Brixton for the past 14 years.
So I was looking into, let's see, the riots. Obviously you said that was before your time, but what I did notice
Really young.
with the precursor to the riots, there was a lot of racial tension, specifically between the police.
And the police didn't like, I don't know if they didn't like what they had it in, there's a police station. I don't know if they didn't like black people, but they just had it influence, you know what I mean? So I share stories, people tell me, like, the Cherry Girls lived up there, well, used to live up there, up the road, Northumberland Road, and she got, the police, her son was like a gangster.
Yeah.
So they raided her home looking for him, and they shot her. They didn't have to shoot her, did they?
Yeah, I know. No, definitely not. And I think she was paralysed.
Yeah, they were pissed. They were livid. They were up in arms. You know, they were pissed off. Yeah, I heard about it. I was a kid. I was like I was going to secondary school, but I was just like 11 or 12.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they took the piss out of her.
It was after the riots had finished, they decided to hold an inquiry into it. They called it the Scarman Report, and in reference to the stop and search powers that the police had, they found a very high proportion of the people being stopped and searched were young black male men. They had evidence that shown that there was clearly racial prejudice amongst the police force, and that had contributed to the riots. They found poverty, cramped social housing and high unemployment to be massive factors as well, and it helped them kind of edit the laws in regards to stop and search, where police had to be able to provide more evidence on the deployment of that. No, thank you, my friend. On the deployment of the stop and search powers, and they did admit that there was definitely racial prejudice in the police force and the police in England at the time. It was the 1980s, so it was pretty bad, even though it still exists. I think these days the police have got a lot more hoops to jump through as well, rather than before. It was just basically authority going wild. But you look at it these days, it is a totally different place. And I spoke to Danny on the street there, really nice guy. I thought he was actually homeless, but he's not. He stays in supported accommodation. He says for his mental health, but he never really elaborated on it, and I didn't want to prompt him. He pointed out a few people that walked by saying he smokes, she smokes, and obviously talked about either heroin or crack. And he pointed across the road and he said they all smoke outside there. And the flats, they look pretty high end. He says like it isn't cheap to stay about here, but you get a house and suddenly there's people smoking crack outside your front door. It makes you less likely wanting to live there, quite obviously. But it's a crazy paradox in it. Like you can be spending 500 quid to £1,000 a week to stay in a place where people are standing in your doorway smoking crack. It's madness. It's Brixton. So Brixton, it seems, is a very interesting place, as you can see, with the people, the culture, and especially the history. But it's good to see it's kind of heading in the right direction, although there's still kind of some remnants of the past lingering over it. But also modern day problems it's dealing with, like gang culture, drugs, and mental health's a big one as well. I was actually talking to a woman, Amelia, who's on the streets. She didn't want to be interviewed, but she was talking about how she's been homeless for over a year on the streets of Brixton, and she's waiting to get into some accommodation. She says she thinks she'll be waiting her 16 weeks. She suffers from schizophrenia, and of course Danny, the previous guy I spoke to, suffering from mental health issues. So I think when you combine poverty, poor mental health, and you find drugs in the mix, that's why the streets can be chaotic. And the way the health services are in the United Kingdom, it doesn't seem to be getting any better, not in the slightest. So I think Brixton's got a lot more to offer in terms of culture, in terms of historical significance, but I think it's definitely got a lot more to offer the media as well. But I think that's my time up here. Now, next on to Tottenham. Brixton showed one side of London's story, but further north, another area became just as infamous. Nowadays, it's the poster for a modernised London, but its past is less than glamorous. When you step off the train, the first thing it catches you is the big ass skyscrapers, and it does seem pretty decent in this way. But Tottenham's got its fair bit of history. Gang violence, has dominated the headlines quite a lot, especially one place called the Broadwater Farm Estate. And of course there was one instance where the police execution of a certain individual did lead to widespread nationwide riots, but we'll get into that. So right now I'm actually in Ferry Lane. It's just adjacent to the train station. As you can see, it's absolutely heaving. It was in 2011, right, where probably one of the most famous incidents in Tottenham's history happened, and you might remember it. It was the execution of Mark Duggan. So Mark Duggan was known to the police as an active gang member, right? He was suspected of a number of shootings, been questioned multiple times, and was part of a gang that operated in the Broadwater Farm Estate, which is about a 15-minute walk from here. It was under surveillance, and the police had tried to pull off what was called a hard stop. He was in a taxi, and they've stopped the taxi, and it was round about this area, next to the train station and the bus depot. As he's got out the taxi, the police have shot him twice. Shot indeed, executed him, and they found out he was later unarmed. They says later on they traced a handgun and a patch of grass nearby and linked it back to him, but there was no DNA on it, no evidence. And what would later happen for the Broadwater Farm Estate, Mark Duggan's family would orchestrate a peaceful protest and they marched towards the police station, but that eventually erupted into a riot and they started causing it, and understandably so. But as the news of this reached the mainstream media, it prompted riots in other cities or areas in London, one of them being Brixton, of course. What ended up happening as a result of these riots was over £200 million worth of damage, and actually 5 deaths as well, not including Mark Duggan's day. When it came to the inquiry, they ruled that the death of Mark Duggan was a lawful killing because the police believed to be under threat, even though he was unarmed. They says he was very, very capable, and for what they say, the police officer acted lawfully because they believed their life was under threat. I mean, it is debatable. The guy didn't have a gun on him and they got shot twice. But because of who they believed him to be, what they believed him to be involved in, it was justified. Still pretty bullshit in my eyes, and I'm sure there's many people that disagree. But as you go back to Brixton as well, with the deaths of people in police custody, it seems justified too. In the eyes of the courts, nobody's really getting brought to justice, it's getting ruled lawful. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to head there to the Broadwater Farm Estate, because when you're in Tottenham, this place, this small estate, is pretty much responsible for a lot of the local history and contributed to a lot of these mainstream media headlines. And Mark Duggan's death wasn't the only death that sparked a riot originating back to the Broadwater Farm Estate. But before I get into that, let's just head there and see it for ourselves. And just like clockwork, we mentioned that the coppers have just pulled somebody in a motor here, in an unmarked motor. Looked like a guy wearing a high vis. What I see, they came out of nowhere, sees I just finished that last video. They stuck the lights on and then pulled that guy in the street. There's 3 of them on him. I don't know, they look kind of like proactive or something. I don't know if that's what they call them down here. So proactive is kind of like your drug police. They'll usually be plain clothes and unmarked motors and jump out of the drap of a hat. It happened to me. I was seeing a pal in Cessnock back in Glasgow, and it was a Friday morning. I walked out of the close onto the street, and just like that, instantly car pulls up and 4 of them jumped out the car. The reason why was because a known drug dealer stayed in the close, and they questioned me, searched me, but nothing really came of it. But it just goes to show you, if they've got a marker on you, they can pop up out of nowhere. Check this wee estate I've just walked into now. I mean, rather swanky. Tell you something, this is a far cry from Brixton. I'll say that for sure. Looks like the coppers are off. I wonder why they pull him. Good if you get asked them, eh? Walk up and ask him, end up pulling with him. Right, where am I going? And look, you get these big fancy new builds, still under construction as well. And right across the road, you get this. And they're no bad houses either. All boarded up. with a picture of Chris Eubank in the front. I really wonder why he's like, I wonder if he's got track ends or something, surely. Maybe they just leave him like that. Mental. Busy shift there. I wonder if there's a game on. Don't quote me on it, but something tells me there might be a game on at Tottenham Stadium. So that's me just came off the main road, away from all the football traffic, and it is very, very quiet here apart from that young lassie on the phone. We're starting to go into the scheme now. It's starting to get schemy. Reminds me of Chucker Hill. There's wee flats there. Oh, what is that in there? Oh, that's the fire brigade. I don't know if that's fire brigade in there, if I've got it all gated off. It's actually pretty decent, this wee bit. Some nice houses. And you've got your neighbour's fish bar. A fish bar. It's a chippy, I can't. That's nice and roasty toasty down here. And there you have it here. Broadwater Farm Estate. Still standing strong. Broadwater Farm to Tottenham is like Postal Park to Glasgow. This place is infamous for riots, gangs, and in recent years, drill music, specifically the original Farm Boys, also known as the OFB. Their music blew up online, exposing the reality behind postcode wars, gang beefs, drugs and violence. But long before the music, this place already had a reputation carved out by riots, poverty and organised crime. So I'm here to save myself. Seems to be through some stage of redevelopment. That is a random set of murals right there. Bob Marley, Gandhi and John Lennon. Kind of like cow cabins a bit. Vehicles only. So as I say, they seem to be kind of redeveloping what's left there. What they're turning it into, I don't know, but they seem to be keeping most of it. That's even bolded up, concierge. Definitely seen better days, you can be sure of that. A bus stop, that's so random, bus stop in the middle of a scheme. So these seem to be these types of blocks that are all connected by certain walkways as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong. I'd like to get up and see if I could have a wee gander. Must be a big generator room or something, man. It's massive in here. I don't know if it must be the walkway that's under construction, because it seems to have all this scaffolding wrapped in it. It's the only bit. So the thing is, see in comparison to back in Glasgow, you would generally classify this one area as a scheme, whereas this is just one particular estate inside an area. It isn't really that big in comparison to most places you go, but of course with the kind of blocks being stacked on top of each other, it does create a larger population per square metre, so to speak. So as you say, what have you got, two high-rise flats and then multiple stories as well, so you're going to have quite a large population of people staying in such a small area. So see an estate like this, of course this was created to combat a lot of the same problems or the other kind of estates like this were created for, and it was a growing population. There's a lot of social and council housing in these areas. There was limited surveillance, and obviously you've got the kind of enclosed walkways as such, so with the lack of employment opportunities during the era, I think it was the 80s these were built, naturally crime and drugs follows, and with, as I say, the accessibility between walkways, the ability to hide away, to run away, escape police capture. That was very natural. A lot of people used, as you see, as stash houses and sold drugs to this area. The reason why this connects to Mark Duggan, because Mark Duggan was from this area, and of course one of the major riots that happened in England as a result of Mark Duggan's death started here. But it wasn't the only incident where a riot happened. I think it was about 10-15 years earlier. There's a woman called Cynthia Jarrett. The police raided her house looking for her son during the proceeds of the raid. She died, she lost her life. Police claim it was heart failure, but during the inquest her daughter actually said that she was pushed by one of the police. So this offset a riot round about here, and the police essentially get chased out. And there was actually one police get caught by the mob, and they basically get chopped to bits, get murdered, and another police get injured as a result of that. They arrested a guy in regards to the murder, but if it went to court, I think he got acquitted. He never actually got found guilty of the offence. See all that? So that might be the community centre. I think they've got a community centre in this spot. Feels as if this estate stretches on forever. 2023. I'm you can see it. I'd imagine out there was another one of these blocks, because you can see a mountain of bricks been piled up. When I was doing a wee bit of research, there was an incident of two guys that kind of get lured down here. I think they may have been up to their eyeballs in tick to the wrong person, and they get basically brought down here, held captive and tortured. They're two assailants, so to speak. They get 12 years in jail. Before, during Mark Duggan's time, the main kind of drug gang that operated in here was the Tottenham Mandem, they were called. It was TMD, but they later broke off, and one of the kind of offshoots that were formed was called the OFB, Original Farm Boys. If you're into your rap music, there's a few notable members that have achieved mainstream success. One's Heady One. If you've ever heard of him, he actually got to jail. He went to jail in Scotland for a county line thing. He was selling drugs up in Aberdeen. I think he got caught with like 30 grand of heroin in a taxi. And one called Bando K. He recently just got time for a gun, but he is actually Mark Duggan's son. If you go and look at the resemblance, they are identical. It's a fair bit of history for such a small estate. It kind of looks a bit like Pollokshields. See the old flats there, if you're familiar with Pollokshields. It's got that kind of look. Deserted, I know. I could be wrong, but I think if you look at Glasgow and you go to the little kind of schemes up there, you'll see there isn't really so many young teams kicking about as much back when I was younger, like maybe 20 years ago when it was at its height. I don't know if that's the same in England or just a lot of police operations have just disbanded it and jailed everybody, because that's what kind of seems to happen. The areas that are responsible for the highest crime rates are usually ones once the police have kind of dealt with them. That's when they kind of set in and try and regenerate the area. Because as you say, they're attempting to do that, but what they're doing, I don't know. I mean, it probably could have potential. The thing is, what do you do with an area like this with all these people? That's kind of what they've done in Glasgow, and I don't know if I'm kind of maybe starting to understand it a bit more, because I used to always wonder why they would build these high-rise flats years ago, and then they would pull them down and then complain there was a lack of social housing. But now as I'm starting to realise, like in these flats, it's poorer, worker class and people all stacked on top of each other. A lot of people get issues if there's high unemployment, addiction, substance misuse, a lot of poverty, then invariably that leads to heightened crime rates. But then is the solution just pulling the flats down and trying to start again? I don't know. I don't really know, because something tells me then it will still keep occurring if you've not dealt with the root issues. Of course, I mentioned the OFB, like some of the members been convicted of certain crimes, but like the younger ones are obviously just as handy. There was actually a case where, if you watch it, there's a Tim Westwood freestyle, and one of the guys called SJ was on the freestyle. He's a member of OFB, and essentially they had taken part a murder of a boy Kamali. I think a foreign leapt out a motor, chased him down, it was like a gang fight, and he got stabbed and died. I think there was 4 or 5 of them. And if you watch the Tim Westwood freestyle, you see him, like his head is sunken, because apparently during this freestyle he found out that the police were looking for him for murder. And he's actually, I think, serving 21 years for that. But he originated out here as well. It just shows you, like, these kind of things are mirrored back in Glasgow. It's like people get caught up in this kind of lifestyle and they lose their life for it, either on one end of the sword or the other. Of course, that's a few instances that's happened as a result of, like, the OFB and the Broadwater Farm estate as such. But there's also another incident, it's not too far from here, in Tottenham, where somebody lost their life as part of a gang attack. But it was an innocent caught in the crossfire. Let's head there to Northumberland Park. Pretty busy scenes behind me, as we're in the shadow of Tottenham Hotspur's stadium. And it was here a number of years ago where a drive-by shooting took the life of a 17-year-old lassie. And it was in revenge, retaliation for an earlier incident where a rival member was humiliated, and they came looking for members of the rival gang and hit the wrong person, hit an innocent lassie. And a guy was tried for the murder, and the case led to a mistrial, and now he's got a retrial, and it's still ongoing proceedings. But aye, you check it right out here, busy hotspot, and if you're running about blasting guns at motors, then innocent people are going to get caught in the crossfire. As you say, there is a game on the day. It's pretty rowdy. There's a lot of people in high spirits and on some different kind of spirits. It's just like easy here. So basically this lassie's name is Tanisha, and she was seen by witnesses playing games and socialising with a group. They weren't gang members as such, and the gangs involved were the Wood Green Gang and NPK. And basically one of the members of NPK get publicly humiliated and live streamed, and basically I get embarrassed online, and they came seeking retribution. And they've seen this group in the street and fired shots, and unfortunately she caught it, a 17-year-old lassie. 2 guys brought to trial. One of them was called Marcus Lacroix, and apparently whilst in jail somebody claimed that he admitted to the killing. It ended up in a mistrial at the Old Bailey. He's in the process of a retrial. The case is still outstanding, so where it goes, we don't know. But aye, crazy, and that's just in the shadow. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as you've seen, the fans are everywhere. Just a subtle insight into some of the history of Brixton and Tottenham. It's been very, very interesting to see the kind of similarities that happen in these areas, no matter what your postcode is, what culture you come from. If you're working class or poor, we're all getting launched in together. We've all got the same problems in it, man. But I'm going to avoid all this football traffic, because I've got the theatre tonight. I've got to go and see a show about somebody in court. What's happening? How we doing? So an Agatha Christie show about basically a trial in court. No place like home. So I'm going to jump the tube, go and get a munch, and then head to that. Life is good. Life is beautiful. Cheers for tuning in, people. I'm Hawaii 5-0, and this is Scheme Hoppin. Like, subscribe, and don't get wide. Catches.